What's going on, YouTube fam, and welcome back to another video. And today we're going to be talking about teaching English in Mexico and the pros of cons of teaching English in Mexico. So, as you know, like many other non-English speaking countries in the world, especially here in Latin America, English is a business language and a very sought after language to learn. And of course, the international language of business is English. So, as you know, Mexico, like many other countries, English is something that people learn and out of necessity and out of advancing in their careers and out of wanting to travel, many different reasons. So if you're an English teacher that has experience, English teachers that's just getting started, or you're thinking about moving to Mexico and you want to teach English, I'm going to give you a few little pieces of advice about the pros and the cons of teaching English in Mexico. And before we begin, please excuse the background noise. It is construction going on in my neighborhood and I can't avoid it, but I wanted to get the video out to you all today. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we're going to start with the basic breakdown. Here in Mexico, as I said, English is a very sought after language, and there are many language institutions that are internationally known, like Berlitz and other ones that are well known, and we could say on the higher end. There are some institutions that are private, some institutions that are just super small, and they're not that really known, and of course, private lessons. So all of those can be a part of English learning. Now, depending on what you prefer, depending on what you're looking for, will depend on what applies to you. So basically, we're going to start with the cons of it, and then we're going to get you with the pros, because I think that there are more pros than cons in general when it comes to teaching English, okay? In Mexico specifically. So the cons will be this. Some schools, depending on the school, the salaries will be a little bit low, okay? I was doing some research and I've seen some offering at like a normal institution, like 13 to 15,000 pesos a month, which depending on what you're used to, where you're from, may not be all that much. And that's just to work for the school. Now, mind you, that could be with or without a contract, depending on the institution. Okay, so some may say, okay, well, you can work for us, you don't need to sign a contract. Some may require you to sign a contract. All right, so keep that in mind as well. Now, salaries can be a little bit low, and that's, of course, if you're working for schools. Now, you can get a good job working and teaching English in Mexico at a prestigious institution. It really just depends on the opportunity. It depends on what they require. For example, the more, how can I say, the more well-renowned the institution is, the higher level it is, then, and the higher that they pay, of course, then they may require things like a work visa, and they may or may not help you get it. So if you have a work visa from Mexico, cool, that's one step out of the way. If you don't, so it's a competition thing. So, there's probably a lot of different teachers applying. Maybe spaces are limited. And, you really got to be the one that they're looking for in order for them to start that process. Because while it's not the most complicated process in the world, getting visas and sponsoring, they have to spend money, do legal things. And, it's not like snap your fingers and you're good to go. So there's a process. So usually those are reserved for people that they think that, okay, this person possesses the skills we're looking for, whatever educational background, we're going to pay you this much, okay? And that could be 20,000 pesos plus per month, according to the research I've done. So now you're looking at the higher end. The more mid-tier ones may not require a visa, may require a work visa, and if they don't, you're still going to have that like 13 to 17,000, depending. That's depending if you're going to be full-time, focused on them, doing like a Monday through Friday or, whatever it may be, 5 days a week, okay? That's another thing. So the low wages can be a little, an issue depending on what you want, and the process of getting a visa, because of course that takes you going to immigration, them doing this, you doing that, and all of those things. So a few of the cons that you will see. Now, another con that I noticed is that when it comes to private lessons, you will have some students that will say, oh, I'm interested in taking private classes. I'm interested, I want to start this day. You give them all the information, you talk about it, and then they just don't proceed with it, which, it's okay. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but let's just say if you have 4 people and they're interested and you're like, okay, cool, I got 4 people. You shouldn't bank on it, because not always are they always going to follow through. Despite how, animated they are or how much they say they need it, you may not even get that, maybe even one of them, okay? Maybe you can, but in my experience, it's going to be kind of wishy-washy. And that's not to say anything bad about the general Mexican population. It's just the way it is. There's a lot of competition out there, especially in big cities here like Guadalajara, Mexico City. But you could still do it. But just keep in mind that there are a good amount of foreigners here. And, a lot of them are teaching English. I've taught English before. I have 3 years of English teaching experience in Brazil. And I've also taught English in Mexico. And my experience of teaching English in Mexico, I worked for a school, wasn't paying that much, but it was during COVID and I just needed to make some extra money. So I obliged. And also I worked for another Montessori school when I was living in Merida. Not that much, but it was close to my house. I could walk there and it was cash in my hand. So if you needed money, then it's there. Now, if you're looking to live a life where you base everything off of that, here is a strategy, and I'm going to give you the pros. So first, before I get to the strategy, let me get to the pros. The pros of teaching English in Mexico are, if you do get a job by one of the more renowned schools, then you're going to network. You're going to meet a lot of other teachers. You're going to, just get a whole network of people, right? And whenever you have a network professionally, what does that bring? Opportunities and possibilities, all right? To make more money, to expand your finances and, business, whatever you're trying to do. Now, another pro is that if you have experience, right? Especially if you're a native speaker of English and you have experience, even just being native alone, I'm gonna keep it honest with you, you can you could charge more, right? And people will pay because they want to learn with a native speaker. Now, you don't necessarily have to have, and here's another pro, an English teacher certificate. That helps if you're going to teach in universities even, or institutions that may ask about your experience. But if you're doing it strictly, for example, private lessons, then you can maximize that. So let's just say, for example, you get a job teaching for just like a mid-level institution, right? You meet some people and some students may ask you like, hey, I want to do some extra practice, maybe conversation. I know some people who are interested, but they only want conversation. So they'll introduce you to maybe family members, friends, their colleagues from their job, and you can create a network like that. And another way of doing that is when you get, for example, one student, right? And you're doing a good job, they like your classes, they're going to recommend you to other people, right? So what you can do is get that recommendation, right? And then they're going to want to get classes, right? So then you do a good job, you're on point, they're going to recommend you to more people. All right. So those are the pros of it, because once you show that, hey, you're a good teacher, they can trust you, they're learning with you, they want to share that with people that they know. So that's another pro. Another pro is you can advertise on Facebook. There's Facebook groups, especially for English teachers in Mexico, and a million of them. You can go on Facebook and search English teacher Mexico. Those kind of keywords are going to come up with a bunch of stuff. So you can join those groups and they're going to advertise jobs in there. You can connect with people, ask them, questions, people who have been around and know about the market, whatever it may be, you'll be well connected in the community, okay? So you'll be able to expand. And now doing that, you can create your own, business card, digital business card, and post it in those groups. And, people will start to hit you up and they'll say, okay, well, how much do you charge? And, what's the situation? And then you'll start to get more traction that way. So that's another pro by simply just using social media, okay? So the cons are, could be low pay, could be flaky students, could be a harder process if you're trying to, be at a higher institution where it's more difficult and they have to do the whole work visa thing. Those are, I say, the biggest cons about teaching English. But the pros are, you can be a self-made entrepreneur here if you're just doing that and you do it the right way. And I would recommend starting out at a school that it doesn't really care about the paperwork, or they are willing to give you paperwork. Or if you do already have a work visa, then you can just apply for any school. That way you have that income coming in. And then on your free time, if you really want to maximize it, you can pick up private classes. And like I said, network, talk to people, make sure you're doing a great job teaching, because like I said, they're going to recommend you to people they know, anybody and everybody they know. And that was like what happened with me in Brazil. It happened to me in Mexico, Brazil. You just take your job seriously, you do it, they're going to like it, and they're going to tell people. And, that's how you get up getting more than you can handle. It came to sometimes it was more than I can handle. And as much as I wanted to get all that opportunity and make all that money, I only have two hands and I can only be in one place at one time. So I couldn't do it all. But those are the pros and cons of teaching English in Mexico. I think that if you want to do it, It's fantastic. It's going to be a good experience. And you could very well get a job here, depending on what part of the country you want to move to. There's English schools all over the country: Mexico City, Guadalajara, Leon, Cancun, Tijuana, whatever you could think of. English, you're going to find English schools there, okay? And communities of people who are English teachers and involved in that field. So I think the pros outweigh the cons. If you really hustle, you can make some good money. Only do that, set your own schedule, and boom, there's another pro for you. So I hope this video, you found it informative. I just wanted to speak on this because it's something I thought about, because I was actually thinking about picking up some English class on the side to make some extra cash as well. But you all out there, if you have any experiences, let me know. Let me know if you're an English teacher. Let me know if you're thinking about it. If you have any questions, comment below. I'll respond to it. And that's all for you today. You all stay safe out there. Have a good one. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button, please, and share it with people you think you might find it well. Until the next video, y'all stay safe, stay good, and I'll catch you then.